Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. So today we're back again for another What I Eat in a Day react, and I'm talking about another member of the Hater Nation. Today I'm actually talking about, I've mentioned this before, and I fangirled a little bit, so I want to put my biases out there, you know. We're talking about on-program situation. I've actually been a fan of her content for a pretty long time. I think Michael B. Petty was the first channel I started watching, and when I became part of the Hater Nation, and then pretty soon after, I think, I found Val and I started watching her stuff, and I find her endlessly entertaining. Actually, she has like a second channel as well that I forget the name of right now, but I'll like throw it up here if I remember. And she has like a video where she's just talking about her favorite like grounding techniques. I just like listening to her talk. I find her very entertaining. She has a very odd sense of humor, and it personally really appeals to me. So I'm going to put that out there. That being said, I'm looking at this as objectively as I possibly can, and I'm trying to give you guys some, tips and tricks on how you can eat a little bit better.
Monday morning, I really wanted to go out on a picnic. And we packed breakfast sandwiches and watermelon, and it was... In theory, it was nice, but in reality, it was super smoky. And so we pretty much just ate our food and then went right back in the car and left. That's just how it is, I guess, this time of year in California.
So first breakfast that she has is this breakfast sandwich that she's made, and she's having it with a side of watermelon. Fantastic. I think that's a good breakfast. I would just add maybe like a little bit of vegetables in there. Like I think roasted peppers would be fantastic. They would also provide a little bit more satiety and like a little bit more fiber. And I'm not sure if the whole, like the English muffin that it's on, if it's like whole wheat or if it's just white. I would recommend switching over to whole wheat. A little bit more fiber. It'll just give you that staying power that I think is very helpful. Otherwise, she's got a good amount of healthy fat from both the avocado and from the yolks in the egg. And then she's got protein, obviously, both from the ham and from the egg. Carbs. It's a good breakfast, all in all.
Our roommates were away for a couple days, though, and we decided to get a little extra with the cooking, and we marinated some meat for carne asada and made street tacos. I also had a mini ice cream cone.
I forgot to mention this in the actual video, I think, but I think that the ice cream cone is a great idea. It's a little mini ice cream, and that's a great way to exercise portion control as well. I like to buy those, I think they're like 100-calorie Yasso bars. I have the mint chocolate chip ones. They're pretty good. And I buy them and I keep them in my freezer so that when I'm feeling like having, an ice cream, I can just grab one. And I know that when I'm done with those, then like that's my kind of like dessert, whatever, treat, or I don't really like using that term, but that's my dessert for that day. And it keeps me from like just going through like a carton and just eating because I don't like to take out my scale and weigh my desserts and stuff out. I realize it does it's negatively impacts my mental health. So I will just sort of eat from the container or take like a scoop out. Most of the time I'll just take a scoop out and I'll put it in a cup or a mug. It's hard to estimate how much I'm eating. So you would think that if you can just scoop it into like a cup, like that's 1 cup, but the measurements on there can be a little trippy. Anyway, long and short of it is to say that this is a great way to do that without having to do any of the scooping or measuring or worrying about that hassle at all. It's also handheld, which I just like from a ease of usability sort of, point of view. That's all I wanted to say on that. So lunch looks fantastic. I actually love street tacos myself. The only thing I will say is that they look a little bare. I think maybe adding a few more toppings that could really like improve this, both from a nutrition point of view and from a tastiness point of view. So like some crisp lettuce, or I know not everybody's a fan of lettuce, but maybe you could add like a little bit of guacamole in there for some healthy fat, a little bit of sour cream for some healthy fats. A tiny bit more cheese would be nice, some tomatoes for that delicious vitamin C. Get creative with it. I've even had like some where they've put like a little bit of roasted corn and shishito peppers in there. Oh, it's like this, I don't remember where I had it, but it was like a fusion Mexican Japanese kind of a restaurant. It was so good.
And for dinner, we made some rice and some beans and some salad and the rest of the marinated steak and just had a really good meal. It was delicious.
Once more, good. This is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I think her dinner is pretty well balanced for the most part. I would beef up the salad a little bit, and it's got dressing in it, which you know I hate, but that's like a personal choice. I would just beef up the salad, maybe add a mix of greens in there rather than just having lettuce. Lettuce is not bad, and it does have some micronutrients, but I think adding a couple of different types of greens into a salad can really help. So like spinach, purple lettuce, purple cabbage, regular cabbage. Just try and incorporate as many different elements from as many different types of foods as you can. Eat the rainbow, as it were. Not the Skittles rainbow, but the vegetable rainbow. Not as tasty, but definitely better for you.
Tuesday morning, we were out and about, and on the way home, we got Chick-fil-A. I got the kale crunch side salad, the chicken wrap, and then I had half a serving of the small mac and cheese. And when it comes to salad dressings like this, I just weigh them after what I've used and then like divide it up.
So as far as a takeout meal goes, this looks fine. She's got some, long-lasting carbs from like the wrap that she has on there, and then the kale has a lot of fiber in it as well. The carbs in the wrap will probably also help as far as satiety goes. Plus, there's protein in here, and then she's getting some good fats from that from the almonds that she's shown us. The only thing I would say is that most takeout meals tend to be very, very high in sodium, right? So if you're eating something like this from outside, just try and be a little bit more careful about your sodium intake for the rest of the day. And I'm not one of those people who hate salt. I love salt. But it can also be a little bit problematic if you're eating a very large amount of it, especially in one meal. And it really... from just like a day-to-day sort of thing, it really upsets me when I have to have that much salt, because then I have to pee all of the time, and I really, really hate having to use public toilets. It's like a fear of mine. Being trapped in a porta potty is like legitimately one of my worst fears in life.
The second meal of the day was pork loin, mashed potatoes, and broccoli. Pretty standard stuff, but pretty delicious.
The lunch looks good. I don't know what's in the mashed potatoes. I hope that it's made with like a healthy fat and not just butter. Butter is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I generally tend to make my mashed potatoes with a little bit of butter and then a little bit of like avocado or olive oil. Olive oil has a really great flavor, especially if you can get one of those flavored olive oils like chipotle chili, which I know in a mashed potato might not be everybody's thing, but I like it. And then there's also like garlic olive oils, which are delicious. And it's like a very healthy fat for you. There's also avocado oil that you can use. I would be careful on the type of avocado oil you buy. A lot of them tend to have like mix-ins and whatnot. The brand that I buy is called Chosen Foods. It's one of the only ones that I've found online is actually like 100% pure avocado oil. And it also is a little bit of a temperamental oil. Like don't leave it at like near your stove or anything like that. But once more, very good. A little expensive, but very good for you. So I hope she's used something like that in the mashed potatoes. But other than that, looks like a pretty tasty, satisfying meal.
I was talking here in this clip a little more in depth about having to put my pet fish down, and it's kind of a bummer, so I don't really think I'm going to actually play the clip, but I only ate twice this day because after putting my fish down, I pretty much just went to sleep. I was feeling pretty shitty.
So she talks about how, she had to put down her fish and she's just not feeling dinner. That's fine. I don't think that anybody should force themselves to eat if they're not hungry or if they don't like something, just like you should not force yourself to stay hungry if you're super, super starving, right? Like, I don't think either one of those is a good option. That being said, don't take this as carte blanche to just skip meals. Don't do that. Especially if you're following a diet plan, right? Something that you and your doctor and your dietitian have worked with, then stick to the meals that they have told you should be having. Because when you skip a meal, it can lead you to be hungrier later down the line and you can overeat. This is something different. I think sometimes when you're feeling sad or stressed or unhappy, you just don't feel like eating, which is fine. But if you're skipping a meal because you think you'll have more calories later or because you want to save your calories for like a night out or something, that is not a good mindset to have. You're much more likely to overdo it on your calories and you're much more likely to feel guilty about it later on. So better eat something. You can eat something light, but eat something,
Wednesday morning, we had errands to run in another town, so when we were done with that, it was already the afternoon, and we decided to get In-N-Out since we don't get it very often. And unfortunately, I just was not really all that into it. So I took it home and finished it later. I know a lot of you are going to fight me on this, but In-N-Out's fries are still good cold. I'm sorry. Don't kill me. Don't cancel me, please.
All right, so for her next meal, she has like this McDonald's breakfast thing. And this is not exactly like my ideal choice of meals. Once more, very, very high in salt, especially in the French fries. That's why they're delicious, but they're also not great for you. But what I will say is her recognizing that she just wasn't feeling it and then finishing the meal later on is a really good sign. I think a lot of times, myself included, we suffer from this thing where it's like, oh, well, it's this meal time and I have ordered this meal. So even if I don't like it, even if I'm not hungry, I'm going to force myself to eat it. You shouldn't, like I said, don't ever feel like you have to finish something. And especially as a brown person, like in our culture, it's a very big thing where you go to somebody's house, even if you're not feeling it, people will force you and force you. No is a perfectly acceptable answer. If you're just not feeling hungry, just don't eat it. It's as simple as that. If you don't like something, you just don't have to eat it. And if you're feeling hungry later, have it later. If you're feeling hungry the next day, eat something then, you know? And if you're feeling very hungry, even if it's a little bit over your calories, eat something. Neither one of those two mindsets is a healthy one to have, especially if you're looking at long-term weight loss and sustainability when it comes to maintaining that healthy way of eating down the line. And by the way, you guys can see my hands. I talk a lot with my hands. That's why I try to film from like the neck up so you guys can't see my flailing limbs.
Dinner was a protein smoothie and banana bread. And later that night, I got hungry again and I had more banana bread.
All right, so she has this smoothie for dinner. I don't know what's in the smoothie, so it's hard for me to judge. Once more, maybe add like a little bit of veggie in there. I always think that adding spinach to your smoothies is a great thing. Spinach is not always the be-all, end-all, though. You need other things in there. Partner makes a really good smoothie that he makes. It's like kale, collard greens, chard, and then it's got like bananas, apples, and then like something, I think ginger maybe. And it helps cut down a lot of the bitterness from the greens, but it's got still all of that like pre-digested, I guess you could call it, fiber, and it's got all of the good stuff that you actually want from the vegetables. And so he'll make those on the days where, you know, he's going out and he's going to be like hiking or biking or whatever, and he wants like something that's easy and drinkable and doesn't have to worry about like fussing with wrappers and whatnot out in the wild. So they're not necessarily a bad thing. It's just you want to make sure that if you are having a smoothie, that it's got a good balance of, like I said, hunger crushing combination, as Abby Sharp would say, protein, fiber, and fat. And a good way that I found of doing this is to get that creaminess and that like really nice, delicious like texture to smoothies that you get with milk or yogurt is rather than having those milk or yogurt, you could do half a block of tofu. And it acts a lot in the same way. It acts as just sort of like another ingredient in there that can give you that creaminess to a smoothie. It can help cut down on some of the bitterness, and it doesn't really have a lot of flavor. So you're not really going to it's not going to taste like seitan or anything. Like it doesn't have an off weird taste to me. And then you put more, you know, predominantly stronger flavors to it, and that can really help. But also nuts are a great thing to add into your smoothie. I tend to add like hemp hearts and chia seeds. Those are my go-to. But if you're keeping it for a long time or keeping it in the fridge, chia's maybe not your friend. Chia seeds tend to expand in water, and it gives it like a weird gluey texture. So if you're a little sensitive to textures the way that I am, if I'm not drinking it right away, I don't add chia.
Thursday morning, typical eggs, ham, veggies, and banana bread.
All right, her breakfast looks great. I think it looks really tasty. You know, she's getting a lot of like potassium from the banana, also fiber from the banana. She's got fat protein from the eggs, and then, you know, the veggies in there. I would just add a little bit more like vegetable to this meal as well. It can help with the bulk, but I also genuinely think it helps with like the flavors. So like mushrooms would be a great one in there. I think mushrooms are great. Somebody told me this in the comment. They're like, don't salt your mushrooms when you're cooking it. And I actually tried this, and it severely increases the texture and taste of the mushrooms. I think it just makes them like tender and delicious if you don't salt them where you're trying to like wilt down and like get some of that excess liquid out when you're adding them to food.
Thursday's lunch was just leftovers and grapes. Pretty simple, pretty good.
So lunch is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think it needs a little bit of fiber in there. There's nothing in there that has a lot of fiber in it. So maybe add some peas and carrots, like buttered peas to the side. Add some fresh baby carrots, maybe a side salad. It helps with the satiety of a lot of things. And the bulk is not entirely terrible either, right? When you're trying to go from eating a lot of food and you're trying to cut down on the number of calories that you're eating, having those low caloric density foods are very, very good for you, at least in the meantime. And you can cut down on your portions and slowly get to the point where you're eating a lot less and you're doing a lot better.
And Thursday's dinner was a curry that I completely fucked up, but it was still full of veggies and still edible, so I ate it. And I finished the day with a snack of chips, because you know I like chips.
So in dinner she has this chickpea and rice curry. So I think if any of you guys have seen my Freely video, you guys will know I think this is great, but chickpeas can be a little bit low when it comes to some protein. And a really good way to combat that is maybe just add like half a cup of lentils into this and it will be perfect. I know that might not necessarily like be the same curry, but it could help. You could also like wilt in some kale into this. I've done that. I actually have a recipe up on my Instagram like that, and it's really, really delicious. You can also make kind of like a saag with like collard greens and like turnip greens, and it turns out really, really yummy too. So maybe like pair it with something like that just to get a little bit more of the micronutrient rich greens in there, something that has a little bit more iron and folate. And overall, I think this looks great. I just think you can add a little bit of something to it, you know? Chips are fine. It's one small serving size every once in a while. I don't see the big deal in it.
Friday morning, I just planned to run to the DMV real quick to get something taken care of. And so all I got was a protein bar.
Day 5 breakfast is a Lara bar. Anyone can fight me on this. Lara bars are disgusting, but that's a very personal choice. I think from a nutrition point of view, it's fine. It's mostly just protein, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I find them very like unsatisfying. I think pairing that with like maybe like a handful of nuts or something does a little bit better. And nuts are very great as a self-contained snack because they've got fiber, protein, and fat all in their own, which is why I really, really like trail mix as a snack. I think making like a savory version of a trail mix or whatever works for you. I don't like sweet food, so I like savory trail mix, but something like that generally tends to be a lot more satisfying than just having like a protein bar. Also, I find them very grainy. A lot of protein bars I find very grainy and chewy and chalky, and I just don't like them. So I mean, that's me personally. If it works for you, then I think it's great, and there's nothing wrong with it.
I wanted to get there early. So it ended up being me standing around for a few hours while I waited for my number to get called, but got everything taken care of, and I got Wendy's on the way home. I didn't finish all my fries, so I wasn't completely sure how to log it, so I just guesstimated.
Okay, this lunch is not the greatest. It's not terrible. Once more, I think everything in moderation, so as long as you're being good about how often you're eating it, it's fine. I would say that if you are getting food from outside, maybe try and get like a side salad with it. Try and get like a little bit more of the calorically less dense options on the menu to pair with your maybe more calorically dense options, right? So maybe you can go for like a small fry rather than large fry and then get like a salad with it to help keep you more satiated in the long run. So I think that might have helped. And also, once more, salt. Oh my God, so much salt. But as long as you are careful about what you're eating the rest of the day, then one meal like this, or in a week, like having even 2 or 3 meals like this in a week, aren't necessarily a bad thing, as long as A, you're still eating at a caloric deficit, and B, you're still trying to make sure that you're eating healthy options around that.
For dinner, we did shrimp pasta with broccoli, and we didn't know that you were supposed to peel the shrimp after you defrost them, so that made dinner a lot more interesting, but it was still super good.
Dinner looks amazing. I love it. I would so eat that. All those delicious like vegetables in there with the pasta and the shrimp. It looks so, so good. Totally 100% love that. Everything about that is like perfect. I think she's cooked it with a little bit of oil too. Canola is a great option. It's got those great omegas in it. So yay, I like it. So all in all, I think OPS is doing a good job. I think Val has a team that's working with her, and you know, these videos are not necessarily directed at the people who I'm talking about. It's more about people who eat like them, who want to take a couple of tips and pointers away from, you know, how you can add stuff to a meal, how you can change the nutrition of it a little bit to make it more satiating, long-lasting, and delicious. So I think Val is doing a good job. Obviously, the results speak for themselves. And first and foremost, she, much like everybody, should listen to their doctors primarily. But these are the tips that I think could really help optimize some of the nutrition in those particular meals. That will be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like if you like this video. You can dislike it if you hated it. That's okay. I respect everybody's opinion here. Leave me a comment down below if there's something you'd like me to really know. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification bell if you haven't done that so you know when I upload any video right away. I've got all my social medias linked down below. I've got Twitter, where I am honestly a little bit toxic and a little bit petty. And also, you know, I sometimes talk about channel updates there. I'm also the easiest to reach and interact with on that platform. I've got Instagram, where I put up all of my recipes and what I'm doing in my day-to-day life, which is a little bit lacking right now, but maybe we'll pick up, hopefully. Let's see, I'm hopeful for the future. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you want to see me continue, please toss a couple of coins in my direction. I would really appreciate it. And also, I will be using all of your funds to buy me more earrings. As you guys know, I only have like 5 or 6 pairs of earrings. I'm kidding. I actually use all of the funds that I get from this channel to put directly back into the channel. So stuff for it. I'm just, you know, if you guys want to help out with that, I'd appreciate it. You don't have to, but I'd appreciate it. I filmed this video before I had patrons, so I wanted to say a special thank you to my patrons. I want to say thank you to That British Unicorn and Wild Rose. You guys are awesome, and I love you. And as always, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.